Hello friends, welcome back to another Tumbler tutorial. In today's video, we're going to be making a very kind of dark, moody mermaid tumbler. I'm calling this the Black Opal Mermaid. We're doing a little bit of a peekaboo, we have some fun vinyl to use, and we're going to be using some new Mica Powders from Simply Sarah. I do have a discount code with Simply Sarah now. I'm so excited. I love all of her micas. She has some amazing colors, and I'm really excited to be working with her. So for 10% off your order, you can use code MAL10 at simplysarahcustoms.com. This design is a little bit out of my normal, bright, colorful, kind of happy design. I had a few little dips and turns and swerves I had to make in the design because of the way the cup was going, but I just went with it. I kind of had to tell myself to trust the process throughout this, but I really like the way the cup turned out. It's definitely different from anything I've ever done before, so I really hope that you enjoy the video. If you do, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of my new videos. Everything I'm using is listed and linked down below in the description box as always, and I've got some discount codes down there for you as well. Okay, I think that's it. I really hope you enjoy the video. Let's go! We're starting with a powder-coated black 20-ounce skinny straight tumbler from Craft Haven, and I've got about 30 milliliters of epoxy mixed up here. I'm going to add in some Diamond Dust mica powder to that epoxy. I'm taking the end of a popsicle stick and just doing a tiny little scoop of the mica powder. You don't need too much. I just wanted to add this in to give this black powder coat base a little bit of sparkle and sheen and just a little tiny bit of shimmer. You are going to see this through all of the layers that we put on, so I just wanted to add a little bit of extra something versus just the plain black. Once I've got all the epoxy on there, I didn't use the entire 30 milliliters. I probably used about 20 of it. I let that cure, and then I went in with this beautiful Mermaid Scales Opal Vinyl from Tech Wrap Craft. This, at the time I'm recording this, is actually on sale right now on the Tech Wrap Craft website. I do have that linked down in the description box also. So when you wrap this on a white base, it shows as the colors you can see here what it looks like on the backing. It's got this light blue, kind of purple, really bright, almost like unicorn vibe to it. But when you put it on a black base, watch what happens. It becomes this like black opal, like kind of dark vibe, and I love it. The only thing with this vinyl is that it is kind of like a cellophane texture almost. It's not really elastic or stretchy or pliable in any way. So you can see when I put it on my cup, I did leave a little bit of an allowance at the bottom of the rim, so I didn't have to, trim anything off or anything. I just lined it up with the bottom of the cup. But up at the top, I have a little bit of excess because my plan was to do what I always do, pull up the vinyl up at the top and then trim off the excess. But this vinyl didn't want to do that. So I ended up with a lot of creasing and issues up there. I ended up fixing them in the end, and I'll show you guys how I did that, of course. But if you're going to recreate this design, I would recommend leaving a little bit of a gap at the top of your cup and a little bit of a gap at the bottom so you don't have to deal with all of this bunching and lifting and all that. I tried to get the vinyl up there to lay as flat as possible. I cut off as much excess as I could, and then once I got to a place where it was at an okay spot, I added a coat of epoxy on top. So here's that coat all cured. You can see that you can see a little bit of that Diamond Dust mica just peeking through slightly, which is exactly what I wanted. So now I'm going to go up to the top rim and sand all of this down and try to smooth out all of that ruching up there just a little bit. I'm using my favorite sanding block combo. I've got an 80 grit and a 180 grit. I'm going to do all my sanding and then wash my cup with dish soap and water, and then add another coat of epoxy on top just to make sure everything is totally smooth before we go in with our stencils. I cut out just some random mermaid ocean SVGs using stencil vinyl, and now I'm going in with all of these gorgeous Simply Sarah mica powders. So I had May, this is Desire Phlox, then we have Grapevine. I tried to pick some like mermaidy vibe colors. Then this is Babbling Brook. It's a beautiful blue. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Then I've got Azalea, which is you can see it kind of has a little bit of a purpley shift. It's really sparkly. And then Alley, which is a hot pink. Lotus, which is another kind of like glittery one. It doesn't have as much of a shift as Azalea, but I took all of those out, and then I started to place my stencils on my cup. And you'll see as we go through this process, this is not like a super traditional peekaboo. The mica powders aren't going to add a ton of coverage. They're going to add just enough so that you see what we're stenciling out, but you can also still see the mermaid scales underneath. It gives a really kind of cool effect. So I'm just placing these stencils all over the cup wherever I have any extra space, just randomly placing everything down. And once I've got my stencils down, I'm taking the tacket and I'm going to brush a thin, even layer all over the entire surface of the cup. I'm making sure that I get into all of these tiny little nooks and crannies of these stencils. I want to make sure that I get as good of coverage as I possibly can, just to make sure that we get as much definition from those stencils as possible. So I've got a paper towel with some rubbing alcohol sprayed onto it just to help me clean my brush off in between colors. And I'm taking just a regular paintbrush. This one's a little bit stiff. And as you can see, I'm just dipping my paintbrush into whatever different color I want to use and then brushing it onto the cup. And I was actually, at this point, before I started with the mica powders, I was stumped with how to use these. I was trying to think of a different new way to use them. And in my Patreon group, MBMM Elite, we had a Zoom hangout kind of craft with me session. And I asked them what I should do with mica powders and this whole concept that I had going. And they suggested this technique. So I can't take credit for this. This was the idea of my Patreon group members, but I am so happy they told me to do this because I really love how it turned out. So thank you guys. I love you. I am going to continue just filling up this entire surface of my cup with different colors. And once I'm done, it looks like this. I'm going to immediately go into peeling my decals off. The tacket is pretty much as dry as it's going to be at this point. So I can go in, peel off all of my stencils, and you can see what I mean here. You can kind of see that scale vinyl from Tech Wrap underneath the mica powders, but when you peel the stencils off, you have the different effect of like, you can still see the shapes, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to go into another coat of epoxy. I've got about 15 milliliters for this coat. And once that one was all cured, I'm going to go right into finishing off the top and the bottom rim of the cup. I had to think of a way to fix this top rim, and whenever I need to cover something up or I want something to look really beautiful, I use foils because, like glitter, they'll fix everything. So I've got this Odell foil from Artistic Painting Studio. I'll have a link to that in the description box down below. And I'm going to cut a really thin strip. This strip is about maybe an inch, maybe a little more than an inch. And that's more than enough. That's all we're going to need for this, everything we're going to do on this cup. I'm taking a little bit more tacket, and I'm going to start by adding just a little bit of foil detailing to any spots on the cup where there's a bubble you can see, or if there's, you know, any kind of imperfection around the cup that I want to cover up. I'm going to take some foil and just do a little spot on the cup and cover that right up. You'll never know that there was anything there. So I'm going to paint a small little line using the same tacket up at the top rim of the cup, and we're going to foil up there, of course. And I'm aiming for maybe between like a half an inch to an inch max of this little like foil border we're going to add, just to cover all of these little ripples up at the top. Up, you really can't see them in the end. It all looks like this was my plan the whole time, but between me and you, I didn't intend to do this in the beginning, but whatever. Anyway, so with the tacket, by the way, it works really, really well with foils. I just put on a really thin coat and then hit it with my heat gun for maybe between like 3 and 5 seconds. And then it's ready to go. You can just put the foils right on there. You don't have to rub them too hard to get them to release or anything. They just stick right to the tacket, and it's a really, really easy way to get these to stick on there. So I went around the entire rim. I'm still using that thin little strip of foil that we had. And then I went back in and I added a little bit more foil to continue the lines, like to those spots that we put initially, just to kind of connect a few of those and make it look a little more fluid. Then down to the bottom of the cup, I'm going to glitter the bottom of the cup. I'm using Wishing Well from PDB. It's got all of the perfect mermaid colors in it, and I thought it was the perfect glitter to finish off the bottom of this cup. So I put the tacket down there as well, and then I went pretty heavy on the very, very bottom of the cup, and then I switched to the shaker side with the holes so that I could get kind of light coverage going up this bottom portion of the cup. I want to cover up the edge of the vinyl, but I don't want to cover up too much of the peekaboo that we've got going down there, so I'm being very gentle and delicate with this glitter coverage at this point. And once I've got the coverage I like, I'm going to go in with my finger and just pat the glitter down so it's lying flat, kind of get rid of any of the excess glitter that's up there, and almost do like a mini tacket method here. I'm not really burnishing with my finger, but I am trying to kind of rub it down, pat it out, make sure that it is lying flat and that we don't have too much excess glitter just hanging out on the cup. And then I took a little bit more of the tacket and just brushed it on the cup in a few places, and then took whatever excess glitter that I rubbed off from the bottom and added just a tiny little bit of it all over the cup just to make it look a little bit more cohesive. And I let that dry about 40 minutes, and then I went in with another coat of epoxy. I've got about 20 milliliters here, and you can see I'm focusing on the middle and the top portion of the cup first, and then working my way down to add the epoxy at the bottom where all of the glitter is. I let that coat cure, and then I added one final coat of epoxy, and then our cup was all finished. So this is the final result. Like I said, this is totally different from anything I would typically do, but I really like how it turned out. I really enjoyed getting to try all of these different new techniques that I've never done before. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone and was a good reminder that I should do that every once in a while because it's really fun to try new things. So I really hope that you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button down below. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you in my next one. Thanks so much for watching. Love you. Bye. In today's tumbler, let's go.